Good morning, my dear friends. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the 203rd weekly webinar organized by AABN. Your presence here reiterates the fact that you are keen on spending time meaningfully even on the weekend. We truly appreciate that. As you're all aware, AABN has been engaging you with lively sessions with the objective of helping you hit the refresh button on emerging trends on a range of topics. This Sunday too, you'd be delighted to know that we have an eminent guest speaker, Ms. Vanisree Gopalakrishnan, to address us on measure and unleash the power of people resources. AABN has always strived hard to provide up-to-date information and developments that are of interest to you and have wider economic implications for the country and the world. Your encouragement and constant feedback on how to improve our webinars have only made our resolve and commitment to these ideals stronger. These webinar series are designed to help aspiring entrepreneurs visualize the possibilities, identify resources to support the vision, and understand the logistics of starting a business. Many of our alumni have supplemented with real-life entrepreneurship stories. In today's rapidly evolving business landscape, the importance of human capability cannot be overstated. From attracting and retaining top talent to building institutional capabilities, organizations are navigating a complex web of challenges and opportunities. HR is evolving into people and culture, emphasizing employee well-being and fostering a supportive work environment. This shift helps organizations adapt to change, boost employee engagement, and drive long-term success. Investing in people unlocks potential, fuels innovation, and ensures sustainable growth. People and culture are crucial for creating thriving workplaces. Organizational transformation often fail due to insufficient frontline employees' involvement. The crucial link between employee well-being and business success amplified by the COVID-19 pandemic. The need for organizational investment in capability building to maintain a competitive edge, citing time constraints, lack of leadership support, and resource limitations are the key obstacles. Adapting to technological advancements requires strong leadership and cultural transformation. In today's webinar, our eminent guest speaker, Ms. Vanisree Gopalakrishnan, will dwell deep and help the audience prepare for the times ahead. I have the pleasant duty of welcoming and introducing her to this interactive business networking session. Vanisree Gopalakrishnan is an entrepreneur, life coach for women, facilitator, HR consultant, and public speaker. She is the founder and CEO at Velga Learning Solutions, an organization into corporate training and leadership coaching, HR and OD consulting, executive search, and POSH services. She was former head HR ABT Foods and group HR business partner at Demexon. She impacted the life of 20,000 employees, entrepreneurs, and students across the country through training, coaching, and speaking. Personally, she has curated 50 plus behavioral training courses. She is a HR strategist and leader enabling organizations win through unleashing people potential for the last 25 years. She's a HR thought leader with over 2 decades of experience across industries, and she was the president of Women Wing Sale Forum. She is also EC member of NHRD Coimbatore chapter, Outreach SPOC for International Association of Facilitators, Coimbatore Hub. She is a certified master facilitator from Blair Singer Academy. She is a certified life coach and also a public speaker. She is passionate about empowering women to create one's own destiny and she's a lifelong learner. Vanisree Gopalakrishnan has a bachelor's degree in agriculture from Tamil Nadu Agriculture University and an MBA in HR and marketing from Bharathiar University, Coimbatore. Before I wind up, let me once again extend a very warm welcome to all and reiterate that our AABN's doors are always open to those who might want to strengthen our work with their suggestions. I also wish to place on record a deep commitment to work tirelessly as a team to carry forward our goals, constructive, gratifying. Thank you all, and over to you, Vanisree.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure and honor to be among distinguished personalities and the forum AABN. where I see a lot of accomplished leaders in this forum, and it's absolutely an honor to be here amongst you all. And thank you for helping me choose this topic on measure and unleash the power of people potential, and specifically with respect to the SME space. So, what we would be discussing in today's session is largely with respect to the SME landscape in terms of how vital it is for the entrepreneurs and business leaders uh, to monitor and measure the activities of every element of the people resources, because wherever, however small it could be, however in terms of the number of resources, it doesn't matter. It really matters in terms of the outcome that is getting delivered. So my question to all of you in this forum is, we all speak about the 4 M's and the 7 P's of marketing and all of that. For a business, what is that one important thing that you believe is vital? If we can have some answers in the chat, that would be wonderful. What is that one most important aspect for any business? Customers, Mr. Arun Ramasamy says it's customers, yes. Productivity, Kavita says creativity, vision, capability, thank you. Human resource, yeah, Mr. Sriram says it's human resource. After sales, Mr. Murthy says trust between employees and employers. Never give up. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Mr. Palaniappan, manpower resource, mutual benefit, competence, passion, and profit. Thank you so much for the answers. Hope for the best. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And continuous upgradation of skills. Thank you, Mr. Malik. And let me share the PPT to also share some insights on what really is important and what have business leaders spoken about it. Gentlemen, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir. So in terms of once again, thank you for all the amazing answers. Yes, customers are very important, and unless there is revenue, there is no point in running a business, and you need a buyer for your product or the service. But from where does the business idea originates? Starting from a solopreneur to a multinational organization which engages thousands and hundreds of thousands of employees, isn't it that one human resource, or that one person, or every single person in the organization that matters? You can run a business without any of these. Yeah, zero investment. Can we run a business? Can we run a business with zero investment? Yes or no? So, Mr. Sriram says yes. Mr. Palaniappan says yes. Yes. So, we all know I know there are a few more consultants in this room, and without capital investment, without money as an investment, we can run a business. But without that person who is there to start a business, can we run a business? So it's like primarily, for everything and anything to succeed, human resources isn't a thing we do. It is not about managing human resources. It is the thing that runs our business. This was stated by an American businessman. So to me, the DNA of a business, the vital pumping, the heart of the business lies with the people. The kind of people that we engage, and even before that, the values of an organization, which uh, spreads as the culture of the organization, where it begins from the core team that founded the organization. So it is not without a reason that we all respect the Tata Group so much. As a passionate HR practitioner, it's always like whenever I talk about values, I cannot resist myself from talking about the Tatas. So where did these values come from? You have a founder, the founding team of the organization or the business had certain values, and from the values we build a culture, and that takes the business to a legacy where for years together, for decades, or sometimes it runs into centuries, there is a culture which, yes, of course there are transformations which happen, but the core essence lies the same. Yeah. So whenever we're talking about human resources, it's like sometimes in small businesses, uh, we have a tendency to take it lightly. I've been on both sides. I have been an employee. I've been a HR leader in multiple organizations. I've been in a public sector undertaking. I had a stint with MTNL in Mumbai for 5 years, and then I moved back to Coimbatore. I've been part of a multinational company, and I have been part of a core family-owned business. And now on this side of the table, when I also work with a lot of SME owners, where we interact and say, it's like it's only HR. HR தான் நீங்க யார் வேணா பாத்துக்கலாம். Sir, is it okay if there's a bit of Tamil that comes during the conversation, or you want me to strictly go with English?
Better stick to English only, ma'am, because there are a few participants from outside Tamil Nadu as well.
Got it, sir. Thank you. So it's like when we speak to SME owners, it's just human resources. Ma'am, it's all about people, and man, anybody can manage. When we talk about the people function in an SME landscape, it pains, actually, it pains to see people saying that it's only payroll, it's only hiring. I'll have to just find some people and put them into these job roles. So why do I need a specialist for that function? So HR clubbed with admin is a generic norm. But there are a lot of examples where we see the moment we start monitoring the people metrics, and we assign certain measures to it. We track, measure, report, analyze this data into meaningful information, and from that interpretation, we have been able to make very, very meaningful decisions which have changed the course of the organization and beautifully impacted the business outcomes. So we would also, I would also be sharing in the next couple of slides on what could be some of the metrics that purely from an SME perspective that we really need to be following, tracking, and measuring. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that my video was off. And when you look at the core of the business, I'm just trying to bucket it into 6 functions: people, strategy, and planning. Again, in terms of the people philosophy, what is the kind of people philosophy that an organization takes, an entrepreneur looks at? So what is the kind of people I really want to find? Am I really ready to invest in training people, making my organization build capability for the organization to be future ready? Or do I look at only work horses who just work and deliver certain outcomes? and be stuck with that. So what is the kind of people strategy that an entrepreneur adopts in terms of an organization culture and OD? Like, I should say there was an example of working with an organization which had grown from 300 crores to 900 crores in a period of 3 years. So you can imagine the kind of exponential growth this organization had been through. And it was during the COVID time, and thankfully they were into uh, manufacturing of masks, the personal protective gears, and all of that. And there was phenomenal growth, and it was a completely family owned business. They had huge capital was available at their disposal. And but unfortunately, we had a conversation with the founder of the organization, and this gentleman said, see, I see revenue everywhere. Please underline, I see revenue everywhere. I can bring in a lot of business, but unfortunately I do not have the people to execute my plans. I am not able to rely on the current team and bring in additional business so that I can grow and deliver what is expected in the market. To sustain my exponential growth, I have lost all the confidence in my team. Now, where did the problem happen? What was the investment in terms of or building culture? So what was like, and when I started asking questions in terms of, okay, come on, what are the core values of your organization? What is the vision for your organization? And the answers were very, very, very fluid. So it's like you build a 14-storied building or a 16-storied building and have a very, very loose foundation. So it starts from there in terms of, it could be a qualitative. The moment we say it's measuring, it's your core values are qualitative statements. The vision you devise, the purpose. When you talk about the mission, why do I do what I do? So the purpose of the organization, do we have clarity on the purpose of why I am into this particular business? Now, what is my vision? What is my vision? At least for the next 5 years. And then on like next 10 years, next 20 years, where do I want to be? And beautiful. It's like, it is not that small businesses cannot have. I work with an organization where the gentleman, the founder of the organization, is also the MD, and he says, in we recently in one of the town hall meetings, he made an announcement. I look at this organization. It was the 16th anniversary celebrations, and he said 16th anniversary, and he said, I want to look at my organization celebrating a centenary celebrations. So for your organization to celebrate 100 years, what is the foundation that you're creating today? So when we say measure, even before we put these measures in place, we need to have certain vital components of what is our purpose, in what direction are we heading towards, what is that we do, what are the non-negotiables for the business, what is that every member in my organization will have to hold dearly. No compromise on these core values. It could be integrity, it could be trust, it could be the quest for excellence. In one of the organizations that I worked for, meritocracy was a core value. So it is not about education, it is not about qualification, it is not about the degrees you have, it is not about titles, it is about merit. If you truly deserve, if your performance is going to be speaking for yourself, there is no ceiling which can stop you. And in this particular organization, I would proudly say that there was a school dropout, a 10th standard dropout. The organization which had meritocracy as its core value. And in this organization, a school dropout who could not clear his 10th standard, who joined as an operator, in 20 years, this boy grew into the head of manufacturing, who replaced somebody from General Electric. Meritocracy is a simple word, but when you really ingrain it into the culture of the organization, and the leaders of the organization believe that yes, this is the core value, and all our decisions would be considering the core value, taking into fact, considering the core value, then what happens is like, sure, it's about in 20 years you have somebody, like, it is not about again the big names or the legacy or the pedigree. It is about performance. Sir, I'm not able to hear you.
No, proceed, ma'am. Proceed, ma'am.
Yeah. So can we, in case there is a question, if you could raise the hand or type it in the chat, then we can take the questions, or we reserve the questions for the end of the session. Can we reserve the questions for the end of the session?
Yes, ma'am. Please go on.
Thank you, sir. So what happened is, meritocracy was not only a value, the organization demonstrated in every decision, in every move, that yes, we value meritocracy. This is an organization which had 5,000 plus employees. Now coming to a smaller organization, which I said the management wants to see the centenary celebrations happening. It's like, it's not an organization, it is a continuum. The business has to be a continuum beyond the life of the founders. So now for these kind of organizations, what is a kind of foundation we define? Now, and what is the frequency in which we go back and say, okay, this was the mission, this was the vision of the organization, and these were the core values. Now, maybe 10, 20 years today, we are in a VUCA world. And there are so many changes happening in the business environment that we operate in. Now, what is the frequency in which I go back and re-examine and say, yes, these were the core values which were defined 15 years back. Now, can I come back and redefine these core values? There is a mindset among SME owners, or it's like all of these are relevant only for large businesses. It's only for huge business conglomerates. But trust me, when we start looking at these subtleties and lay a very, very strong foundation, you can just grow in scale and size beyond geographies. And that's on the culture and organization development bit. And now we move to recruitment and selection. Again, like, what are the kind of systems and processes we have in place? Unless we have a process, how are we going to measure? So where is the process that we have defined? So if it is a recruitment, now what is that I am going to see? What is the yardstick I am going to use while I measure, or while I decide and rate a candidate, a potential candidate, a fit or not so great fit? Right? So now, how do we define these? Are we able to see, okay, in my organization, these are the organization's competencies. These are the behavioral competencies which I want to fix for my organization. Now, we have the mission, vision, and core values. And from there, we again dissect it and say, okay, if I have to build a culture of excellence in my organization, now, how do I break down excellence for my sales team? How do I break down excellence for my service delivery function? How do I break down excellence and define it in a manner that my operator in the manufacturing function, or the person who produces the product, understands that? Yeah. How does excellence apply to a person sitting in the finance and accounts function? Now, once we understand excellence and look at that as a behaviorally anchored rating scale, now, if we are able to define that and take that behavior into your interview assessment sheet, that is when the fitment would we would be able to assess on the fitment. Yeah, and I know this is a very very in-depth subject wherein we go into one of the detailing. So recruitment and selection itself is a 2-day program. So I'm just trying to give glimpses of in each of these segments how can a process, and thereafter how linking it to a metric can add value to the business outcome. Yeah. Any questions so far? Any point that I need to dwell a little deeper? Are we good to go?
Yeah, ma'am, you can go ahead, please.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes. Now I have a question. So the next thing is payroll and benefits. So you hire people, and payroll is a function which every enterprise, however small it could be, you have a payroll. Done. Now, how do you measure payroll? Any answers? How do you measure the impact of payroll? Or how do you measure payroll? So can we have some answers in the chat? Or maybe in
Based on
recruitment?
skill, based on
Yes.
skill, the payroll is defined.
Pardon, sir, can you be a bit more louder?
Based on skill, the payroll is defined.
Okay. Based on performance and skill. Thank you. Based on performance and skill. Based on KRA rating, if you have a variable which is linked to a KPI, yeah, it's experience and skill. Thank you so much. And now, again, in small businesses, how many of us have it as a policy? See, when you say, I'm an ethical business, I am a responsible business, and trust is my core value. Do we have it as a founding principle in terms of, yes, come what may, the payroll will never be compromised, disbursement of salaries will never be compromised? That would be my first priority. Businesses that have held on to this particular value and demonstrated that payroll processing on or before, it is always 100% achievement. So when it comes to payroll, the first and foremost discipline is, are we, it's like in sanctum sanctorum, no compromise, because this is what propels my business engine. This is the people who run this business. So that is a non-negotiable. And now, what is the accuracy in terms of payroll? As a HR practitioner, for me, it is something very dear. If you make mistakes in payroll, that is a sin. That's a crime. When, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as somebody in the HR function, you cannot afford to make payroll mistakes in your payroll. Somebody is giving his or her heart and soul and spends more time than he or she spends at home, in the business, in the organization. And if we are taking payroll so lightly, what is the kind of messaging that we are communicating to the employee? Would we be okay with accepting subpar standards when they deliver performance? So it many often we take it very lightly as a payroll function, because it's just processing the payroll and putting money or crediting money into the bank account of the employee. But how accurate are we in? How are we keeping up our promises? Whatever revisions have been promised, are we on track? Do we have a system? And again, payroll and benefits, one is on the human side of it, and let me come to the core business side of it. What commercial sense can payroll make? How many of the SME businesses have a variable pay linked to the business. So do we have a process or a system wherein we say, okay, these are the key result areas and these are the KPIs, and I would be tracking these KPIs relentlessly, and there is a transparent system which links the achievement of business outcomes by an individual contributor, and this is the variable pay or the incentive that a person would be getting. Now, going back to the example where I spoke about meritocracy as a core value in this organization, the way it was looked at in terms of employee productivity, and we had a huge variable linked pay system. And the variable pay for an individual contributor, I'm talking about an operator in the production function, the variable would be as high as 25 to 30% of the total CT. And in 25 to 30% of total CTC, when I say this, just imagine how robust the metrics would have been. For example, an operator will have to produce so many diamonds in a particular day. It is a diamond cutting and polishing industry, and an operator of a particular function. Let's say there are multiple sub processes in the cutting and polishing function. If it is, you take one of the functions and say, yes, this is the function. Now, the kind of how many stones does this employee manufacture? Now, again, we all talk about a lot on the skill area. Now, if I have an apprentice or a person who's just learning, now, and it takes 36 months for this particular operator to master the skill. So I would have a workload for somebody in 0 to 6 months, which is a standard incentive which would be given away. Now, from 6th month on, every month there would be a marginal increment in the workload. Means we are not just measuring the output, we are also measuring the learning, the improvement in learning, and the learning metrics. Is the operator achieving the milestones in terms of learning the skill? Yeah. So now it is not easy to have a system and implement it successfully. So you need data. What are the data points that we are capturing? And how long have we generated this data so that you have a robust database to come up with, to study the patterns, to study the trends, and then make decisions which can also be validated. Yeah. Now, let me take a minute to decode on this and elaborate a bit here. So now it used to work like, if this particular operator has to produce, let's say 50 stones per day in a work day of 8 hours, it is 50 stones per day. And anything over and above 50 stones per day, they would get an incentive. And anything above 50 to 55, it would go into a, let me say, 110% of the incentive. And there was a table which gave all the numbers. How do I now make it more transparent and friendly for this particular employee? Now, if I'll have to take a leave, if I'm an operator and I'll have to take a leave, I will have to go to the HR and ask, okay, I do not want to lose on my incentive. And now tell me, how many stones should I produce incrementally per day to achieve this incentive in spite of taking a 2-day leave? So that is where technology comes in, and we leverage technology, and we got into an Oracle-based system which was inbuilt, and every employee can go to the system and say, depending on her experience in the organization, it would say this is your workload. Now, and it would also say your production so far. We are on the 22nd of the month. So today is, sorry, 23rd of the month. Today we are on the 23rd of the month. So until 23rd, I have earned, I want to earn an incentive of 7,000 rupees. And I've already earned 4,500 as an incentive, and I want to take 2 days off. Now I say number of days. So it is employee self-service portal, which was built in. And it said, okay, if I'll have to take these 2 days leave, by how many stones do I step up my daily production so that I still earn the same amount as the incentive? And the system would give you a number. So now payroll is not a very, very simple thing. Now, how do we integrate so that you build a performance centric culture, and it is not that the supervisor or the manager is after the employee to get results, but the employee owns it and says, yes, my performance is linked to a variable, and yes, if I need to earn this variable, there is a reward that is attached, and there is a transparent system which tells me and no disputes, because everything is tracked, everything is online, and everything is measured. Yeah. And now the question might be, in a small business, how do we do it, which we would be addressing it in the subsequent slide. Any questions on this? Okay. And now the next part is performance management and talent development. So I'm just holding on to this because I have in the talent management space, I have identified a few of the metrics in the subsequent slides, which we can delve a little deeper. And finally, HR analytics. Actually, HR analytics comes as a core of all of these, integrating all of these functions. So how do we leverage each of these functions and maximize the benefit for the business outcomes? Now, my question is, like most of you have been in business, are into business, what are some of the simple HR related metrics that you're very comfortable with, you have come across so far? If we can have some of these metrics that you're familiar with in the chat. Yeah, what are some of the metrics that you think are important for measuring HR outcomes, people-related outcomes? Yeah, sick leave, attrition. Yeah, attrition is voluntary and involuntary. Thank you so much, Mr. Malik. Any other metrics? Attendance, wonderful. Balance scorecard. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Ideas per person. Wow, that's wonderful. So in organizations that believe in innovation, the number of ideas per person, training hours per person, hiring cost and time. Wonderful, sir. So what is the lead time to hire? Longevity of employees, average age of employees, as we may call it. Thank you, Mr. Malik. Diversity. Awesome. Absenteeism control. Efficiency to make correct in short time. Yes, sir. Efficiency. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for these answers. And offer acceptance rate. Yes, in today's scenario, the offer acceptance rate is an important measure, because we see a lot of shift in the culture where people just accept an offer, go to the same organization where they're currently employed, show this offer, negotiate a higher salary, and stay put. And the one who has released the offer, to their surprise, and today we see, we should, a lot of HR are thankful to people at least who call and say that I'm not joining. And I feel sorry for the HR fraternity, because most of the times we are left with surprises that it is on the day of reporting, we finally wait for the employee to turn up, and they don't even have the courtesy to pick up the phone. Thank you so much for highlighting that offer acceptance rate in today's scenario is becoming more and more relevant. Recruitment lead time, absolutely. Net promoter score, wonderful, sir. Safety and well-being of people, awesome. Revenue per employee. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'd move on to the next slide, where we have just tried to put in some of the important people metrics from an SME perspective again. So in terms of climate survey, how do we really do a climate survey and understand what are the pain points of the employees and what are their expectations? So recently, I was working with one of the huge retailing companies in terms of uh, uh, tiles. They are into tile retailing, and it's a big name in. They do it for one of the leading brands in the country, and in Tamil Nadu, it's a leading brand. So now it's like when the moment you know that your attrition is not favorable for the business, you're losing some of the critical role holders, or the star employees whom you are keen on investing, and you have placed your trust on them for the long term of the organization. How about doing a climate survey and understanding what is that? Am I going on right track? Are my people philosophy, whatever I have laid down as my people philosophy, is being met? Uh, in terms of the environment that I'm offering to the employees, what are their needs? Are they are what the business offers? Are they in line with the expectations of the employees? How do I become an employer of choice? Today we talk about a great place to work. How do I become that great place to work? Now, how do I fill these gaps? Climate survey is important. And of course, today, in again, how many of us sincerely make an effort to do a workforce planning, manpower planning? So, in terms of our annual operating plan, before we do, I see a lot of businesses, there is a lot of importance given to the expenses part of it. All other expenses, you go and have a plan on, you do an analysis of what have been the expenses on all of these heads last year and this year. And in terms of people cost, we just take a number, we apply a rate of inflation and take it. That is what most of the business owners are doing. Now, how do we look at now what is my business plan, and in line with this business plan, what is my human resource plan, what is my manpower plan to achieve this, what is the increase in productivity that I am factoring, what are the efficiency targets I am setting for myself. So the workforce planning would be the first and foremost step in terms of setting a foundation on which you can then start tracking and measuring. Now, in the absence of a workforce plan, now how do we look at what are the existing vacancies? Now, when you have a very important vacancy and you don't have, for example, in a post sales function, in a small business, you just have one customer care executive, and if this position is going to be falling vacant, and in your balance scorecard, if you have your metric as somebody had mentioned balance scorecard, if you have in terms of your customer satisfaction, you're talking about my post sale service score has to be so much, and this position is lying vacant. How do you achieve this? Yeah, so the number of open positions, from workforce planning, we look into the number of open positions. Now, lead time for recruitment. When did this position fall vacant, or when did the person, the incumbent in that role, submit his resignation, on when was the vacancy notified to HR? From that point to the point where different companies measure it differently. For somebody, it could be like acceptance of offer. For someone, it could be on the day the person reports for work, the new hire reports for work. What is the lead time for recruitment? Now, how do I give a target or allow my HR Spock to take a target for himself or herself and say, the lead time for recruitment during the last year was this, and now this is going to be my lead time for recruitment. And once you set on the target, then you ask your HR what are the resources that they require. Today we are talking about AI. Now, how do I leverage AI in terms of like how to enhance to improve efficiency of my recruitment process? Is there something that I can do? Yeah. And next comes cost per hire, a very important metric. Now, today it's like the world, with every single day, a lot of new avenues for recruitment is coming. So the last 5 years, there have been a shift in terms of rather than posting your open positions on Naukri, The social media is becoming more and more prospective. So today we talk about ambition box, and a lot many more opportunities have come up on LinkedIn. Like, how do you, what is the kind of talent, and how do we look at where do I source this talent from? Now, cost per hire. Now, gone are those days where we used to go into consultants for this. But then now there is an opportunity cost. How many of us also look at the opportunity cost? If I am an entrepreneur and I need to do headhunting, rather than looking at business strategy and bringing in more business, what is a more wiser decision? So the first level is cost per hire, and second level we also look at the opportunity cost of the resource that is engaged in terms of the recruitment. Second, the next point is attrition. The positive way of looking at attrition is again retention. Let me tell you here in an organization that I was mentioning. Now, when we look at retention or attrition, we also look at different age groups. Now, if an employee who has joined may quits within a period of 6 months, I would equate that to infant mortality. Yeah, the word might sound very harsh, but then I have invested so much of time, material, money, and effort into hiring this person. And in less than 6 months, if the person has to leave the organization, there is something seriously wrong, either with the way with the selection, or with the source, or with the culture, or with my process of induction, or with onboarding, something has gone wrong, or I have not allowed the person to seamlessly settle into the new organization. There has not been a process to acclimatize him or her to the culture of this particular organization. Now, how do you look at uh, attrition? Again, voluntary attrition and involuntary attrition. Yeah. So involuntary attrition again is like uh, the employee does not come and put in his or her papers, but we take a call. It could be a performance issue. It could be because of integrity, lack of integrity. It could be discipline, indiscipline or disciplinary action. It could be anything. And let me tell you, in POSH, prevention of sexual harassment of women at workplace, some of the organizations that we work with, extremely a person who has been playing a very pivotal role in the organization's growth, a star performer, got accused. There was a complaint against him on sexual harassment, and the complaint was proven. It was not safe for the organization to continue with that particular employee. In spite of all of his meritorious performance, the organization had to take a call and let go of the employee or terminate his services. Now, what is happening is involuntary attrition. How many such attritions happen in your organization? So do we look at all of these metrics and say, see, in larger organizations, we break it down. In smaller organizations, at least year on year, what is my attrition rate? How many people are coming in, and out of that, what has been the rate of people who have been going out? So again, we say hire versus, it's like recruitment versus attrition. Now, what is the proportion? And revenue per FTE. So FTE is full-time equivalent. So total manpower in the payroll, and how many people to this particular achieve this particular revenue, how many people have I hired, or how many people do I engage? A very, very broad measure. And as I said in the previous example of the diamond industry, productivity per person. So in this process, what is the productivity per person? You also look at revenue per FTE is again productivity in terms of the revenue earned, the monetary terms we look at productivity. This could be in terms of the kilogram, tons, or batch size, or in case of IT, the number of projects, or the billable revenue per CTC. All of these are important metrics. Attendance again, we all look at attendance in terms of approved or predicted leaves and unapproved leaves, which is called as absenteeism. Let me again tell you, go back to the same industry example, and we used to have 90% plus were women in that organization. And when you engage women, maternity leave is a part and parcel of uh, the regular people management practice. People who go on maternity, now how do we plan? So we used to have a robust data. We used to look at the last 3 years data, and in every department, what was the percentage of maternity employees going on maternity leave? So now we used to take the data and do a trend analysis and say this year, this particular department, let us say it was a rough planning department, it was a production planning, then you have QC. In all these three departments, in one particular department, the maternity leave percentage was 2.5 percentage, whereas in another department, the maternity leave percentage was 1%. Now 2.5 percentage, I need to create a buffer so that my process flow, the entire value chain does not get affected. So attendance might look very, very simple, but when the moment you start tracking it at the macro level, and and we start getting into the detail of it, then you cascade it down, break it down into smaller units, smaller work units or smaller profit centers or cost centers, and then for every cost center, for every business unit, you start tracking it, and for every demographic unit, you start tracking it. And trust me, friends, that gives you phenomenal value, and you will never be caught by surprise, because that is where proactivity comes into picture, and you would be able to proactively plan your actions to combat such challenges in terms of the operations. And this list is an endless list. It's going to be a huge number, but from an SME perspective, I've just listed down, and I would also now present you on a few sample metrics and process cards which can help. So now, in the previous last but one slide, we saw this, and I said performance management and talent development. We will look at it in the subsequent slides. So in a smaller function, how do we look at your performance scorecard? For it, this is a simple basic level of a sales team scorecard. You look at what is the total turnover in terms of crores. It could be in money value in lakhs or in USD, whatever it is. And in terms of the product outcomes, in terms of tons or in terms of kilograms or in terms of volume, whatever it is. So what is the unit of measure that I can associate to see the measure of this particular individual employee? Now, we look at the organization. Thanks, somebody had mentioned about the balance scorecard. Now, at the org level, you have the balance scorecard for each of these. The finance function, you have about the customer, you have about the internal processes, you have about the learning and growth. In each of these, you further break it down, you have the department-wise scorecards. And from the department-wise scorecards, you get into the individual member scorecards. And the easiest to do in smaller organizations is do for your manager, and from the manager scorecard, you cascade it down to the individual team members. So now, what is the total turnover? So some of the organizations choose to say, okay, turnover is important. In terms of volume, this particular sheet you're seeing is for a yarn trading business. This is a scorecard developed for a yarn trading business. So there is a volatility in the pricing of yarn. We all know, like, there have been a huge volatility in the way yarn prices were moving. So it is not really, turnover is something the individual contributor has a very less control on it, because depending on the pricing, the turnover can sway this side or that side. So what is more relevant is in terms of volume, in terms of kilogram, and for the organization in terms of tonnage, what is the volume that is relevant. Now from there, you further break it down into what is the key product, what is the portfolio that gives me the maximum profitability. Now, if 80% of the business or 60% of the business, as you may have defined the case. So now new customers in the key product, what are the number of new customers? What are the new customers in the other product categories? What are the average receivable days? Here the sales team was also responsible for collections. So what if all my products are sold, but my collections, the money does not come back to the organization? So it is not just revenue, it is also revenue realization in terms of the collection. So what are the average receivable days? Now, what is the outstanding which is there in the market beyond the credit terms? And what are the average number of customer visits per day? My friends, let me tell you, this is again, we look into what are the lag indicators and what are the lead indicators. Lag indicators are the outcomes. It's like doing a postmortem. The activity is over and you measure whether the desired outcomes have been achieved or not. That is the lag indicator. And there is something called as a lead indicator. How much are you compliant with the process? Are you adhering to the set process so that the outcomes are just an outcome or a result of the process? So the moment the process is being followed, the business outcomes are guaranteed. So there is no point allowing people to breach the process and complaining at the end of the day, end of the month, or end of the quarter that the business results have not been achieved. So what would be more prudent is look at how much have they been adhering to the process. So now this last measure, average number of customer visits per day. People in the sales function or marketing function would be very familiar with what is your permanent journey plan, your daily journey plan. How many customers have you been visiting? How many of them are existing customers in a day? How many of them are new customers in a day? And do you map your PJP? And again, here technology comes in very handy. You have a GPS on the mobile, and it can be connected to your HRMS. And as soon as you go and you send a message, your GPS coordinates are tracked, and you say, okay, I am at this particular customer's office at this particular hour of the day. And there is an 80%, 90%, 100% fulfillment in terms of my permanent journey plan. I'll have to meet 10 customers, and these are the 10 customers, which was a plan for the week. And end of every day, I report that, yes, I have achieved. And the moment this is met, there is a higher probability of the rest of the things being met. So it is not only important to measure the outcomes in terms of the end outcomes, but also important to measure how do we set a measure for the process so that we are really able to unleash the power of the people available in the organization. Any questions on this particular slide? So can we take another 10 minutes to complete a few more slides? Copy, sir?
Go on. Please go on. Please go on, ma'am.
Yeah. So this in terms of the scorecard, I would leave you with two things. Please make it a point to have your performance scorecard. And also in the performance scorecard, when you're tracking the KPIs, not only the lag measures, outcome-based measures, but it is also important to have the lead measures, lead KPIs, lead indicators as an integral part of your scorecard. Now, another important aspect of maybe a slightly higher order thing, which not most of the business owners really look into is this is actually a live data. And what you're seeing on the screen is voice of the employee. Somebody had typed in as employee engagement score or net promoter score. Now, this is live data. Data that's just a week old from one of our clients. It's a very small organization. And this particular organization believes in having all its fundamental metrics having a very strong foundation for all the people practices, and it's a process-centric organization. Now, this is edition 3.2 of the employee engagement survey. Means you can see to 2022, we started the process, and data from 23 is available here. That was 1, 2, 3. And we saw that, or maybe on the chart, you can see 8.07 was the net promoter score in the year 2023. Now, in 2024, there was a slight decline. And again, we applied statistical tests to see if it is a significant variation or not. And it didn't significantly differ. But however, the management of this particular organization believes that I need my employees to be my advocates. They need to be promoting my organization, or I need to be an employer of choice. So my net promoter score has to be on an increasing trend as a goal that company has set for itself. Now there is a slight decline in 2024. It has come down to 7.82. So we decided, and we further got into looking at each of the metrics of why this shift has happened. And there were 5 factors, which I would cover in the next slide, where we saw there is a decline. Now, further, this is an annual survey. So we decided we would do a 6-monthly, half-yearly assessment of these factors of concern alone, and launched an interim survey early this month. And the score is 7.6. So the message to HR and the message to the organization or management is that maybe whatever interventions are going, it's not in the right direction, and we'll have to relook at what is the right intervention that needs to be given to this particular organization, or how do we address those gaps. Now, this is the first level analysis. Let me also present you the second level analysis of, now I said about factors. Now you have, when we're talking about employee engagement, you have Gallup survey. You name any large consulting organization, they have their own tools. And we also do a lot of customization to suit the particular organization's culture and the context. Now, this is again a comparison of 2024 and 25, and we say, okay, work environment, intention for the employees to stay in the organization, what is the belongingness index, what is the career progression, what is the level of role engagement, how committed are they to the particular role, what is the belief of the people in learning and growth. Because most of us may feel learning and growth is not important. For this particular organization, learning and growth is important because their core value is inspiring excellence. If you want to inspire excellence in your business, continuous growth and learning of, investment in learning and development opportunities for employees are important. And relationship with supervisor. These were the metrics that were tracked. And this is how you look at. This is the second level of deep diving into data. I would also show you one more further level of the third level of deep diving. Now we look at, okay, these are the statements. Role engagement, I feel recognized for my hard work and success at work. Now you can see for the last 4 years, how does this data travel? Yeah. I'm not going to read each of these statements. I would request you to just spend a couple of, maybe a minute on this slide to see every statement has a graph. Okay. So now what has, I'll just look at the last statement. I'm satisfied with the career options available for my org, at my org for me over the next 1 year. Now this is a concern area, and now what we have done is, looking at this, we have launched the career progression plan. The company did not have a career progression policy. Now we said, let us go back and tell all our employees that this is the career progression plan for you. And this is what you can expect if you are going to be performing, if your performance is going to be in this bucket, if you're going to be in the top 20 percentile of performance, then at end of 2 years, there is every chance that you get promoted to the next level. And what do you think could be the size of employees in this organization for which I'm sharing this data? Any guesses? The size of the organization. Absolutely, Mr. Malik. So it isn't negative. The passives are, there are a good number of passives in this slide, yes. And yeah, those are some of the strategies we are looking at. So Mr. David says it is 1,000 plus. Any other guesses? Any other guesses? What is the employee, the strength of employees in this organization? What could be the possible size of this organization? 100? 100 plus? Okay. 300? Thank you so much, sir. And a lot of cases are happening. And let me tell you, the size of this organization is 37 members. It's 37. So the reason I have taken this data is to break the myth that most of the small business owners feel data analytics, all of these are for large organizations and corporates. But smaller organizations at early stages, if they invest time and effort into looking at a data-driven measure for each of these, I think that's a huge sign that the message goes out loud and clear to all its employees that there's a lot of objectivity in the system, the biases are limited, and the decisions are data driven, and there's a lot of process orientation which happens. And this is a huge case study, and we can go on and on it with these numbers that you're seeing on the screen for hours together. But in the interest of time, I would like to just move forward and have some space for question answers now. Leveraging technology today, a lot of HRMS tools are available. HR analytics again. How do you calibrate your HRMS? Today, people invest in HRMS. I recently had, I was speaking to the founder of an organization who has 10 or 12 people on roll, and the rest are blue collared. They are in the construction industry. And he said, Madam, I want to invest in HRMS because all my people are field staff. So it doesn't matter, you need to have a large employee base, even if it is 4 people. Today, leveraging technology can truly offset a lot of costs in terms of monitoring, and also in terms of giving us transparent data. And rather than telling people that you need to be trustworthy, they automatically comply. And HR analytic tools, employee engagement platforms. Here, the flip side is now we would be ready to invest the money and get these tools. But we also should know, how do I really capitalize on the investment? I might have a HRMS, but if I'm not using the HR analytics to derive my reports, what is the purpose of having a HRMS tool? Yeah. And with these thoughts, I think we can open the floor for question answers. And thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for the wonderful session. We'll now keep the floor open for question and answers. Participants, you may please unmute and ask your questions one by one. Yeah, please go on with you.
The real challenge seems to be actually getting people. Nobody wants to work.
Sir, can you please be a bit louder?
The real challenge most small entrepreneurs faces, we don't get people to work. See, there is a huge educated people think working on shop floor or hard work is below their dignity. They will rather do freelancing like Swiggy than discipline themselves for attendance.
So your voice is breaking.
Breaking?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
hear
break.
me?
Yeah, go on, go on.
Can you hear me, Gopi?
Yeah, I can. We can.
Yeah. Today, people are not ready to discipline and build a career. There are no small industries. Big industries, they're ready. Small industries, most people are not ready to join. We have to bring people from Orissa and even machine operators. Uh, local people are not, and um, absenteeism is rampant. What is really happening at every level? I mean, irrespective of their economic or educational background. It looks as if the society thinks hard work is bad. And this is what I get. This is my perception. Maybe I am wrong, but can you? What is your experience?
Sir, I would largely in terms of the trend that is happening in the industry, I would rather endorse what you said, because we work with a lot of organizations, and recently I was at one of the largest or a big brand in the food industry into business biscuits manufacturing. We were at their factory in Perundurai, and in again that's an industrial belt, and a lot of people are available in the local market, but still the organization is largely dependent on migrant workmen from Jharkhand, Orissa, and Bihar. And again, there is a lot of cultural misalignment happening. The supervisors are the locals, and the shop floor operators are the people from the migrant workmen. Uh, and here it's like kind of the expectations of the local population have gone up. And as you said, I've also faced this challenge when I was working in the food industry. I come from a dairy industry, and the group also had its own educational institutions. It was a large group and it had its own education. Our own people from our own colleges were not ready, because when you look at an engineer, and he has to work in 3 shifts, and if there is a leakage in terms of the process, the pipeline, he is not ready to roll his sleeves. And the moment is, where is the fitter, where is the turner, and it's like again we are moving to a skill based system, and we are having a lot of overqualified people who know the job, but they're really not ready to roll up their sleeves. This is where I also, when we look at students, we also need to a lot of responsibility lies with the academic institutions also, to send that awareness and educate them that the element of ownership and accountability is lacking. It's like no job is of less stature. So that awareness and acceptance is very less. So what one of the recommendation that I give to my clients is, rather than going to top end B schools or top end engineering colleges, let us look at institutions which are in the outskirts, which are in less developed areas, where we have rural folk who do not seek lifestyle as a choice, but they are ready to build their career, and they seek employment for livelihood. So with such sections of people, where we invest in training, skill them, and also give them behavioral training in terms of what is the value system that they need to cherish. And when such training can start during their college days itself, there the adoption becomes slightly better, where we are able to see a better improvement in terms of people retention, and also adaptability of these candidates into the businesses.
Ma'am, I'm a professor in a college in Anna University. I think
Yes, sir.
it's not the college; it is actually the families themselves. If you think that you know, the general feeling is that children should not do hard work. It's if they work hard, it is then we are not supporting our children. I had this very nice guy, very pleasant guy who travels like 30 kilometers, who used to travel. He's now in L&T. And he says, I've never taken a city bus. He says, I either drive my car or I take a Ola. Which is condoned. They say it's normal. Why should my son take a bus? That is the kind of attitude. In fact, during COVID, many parents complained to me that their son is doing nothing, or son or daughter, children are doing nothing. And I say, let him come to the factory to work. They shun. They say they are reluctant. They think going to a shop floor is not for their children. The problem is not the colleges. The problem is with the parents. Yeah, but bike is to have a two-wheeler is like a must to attend an engineering college. I don't know, maybe medical colleges, they will even ask for a car, without which they may not even go to the college. So at that point, how do you expect somebody like that to even work in the shop floor? It's much easier to motivate and discipline a Bihari or a Orissa person than somebody from Tamil Nadu. This is my observation, and I want to share in the forum.
Sir.
Somebody else can also say this. And see, there's a mismatch. Educated, good family guys don't want to work hard. There are people with minimum education from poor backgrounds, but they are not capable of working. See, they cannot understand. We have to. Where do we start? So this is a big mismatch we are facing in the industry.
So,
So very true, and that's where skill training comes into picture, and skilling of people from underprivileged background is one of the immediate go-to solutions when as a cultural shift. Unless this happens, like there is, we all accept that in the generation that we belong to, and of my age and seniors of your age, we all worked for a livelihood. But today's millennials and zillennials, they go to employment for a lifestyle.
No, I don't believe, because I worked with Koreans, I have worked with Filipinos, I have worked all over with Spaniards. They are highly qualified, they are very well to do, but hard work is ingrained into the system. To work hard is a privilege. That's the way. At least I have worked all over the world, and I have found hard work is a bottom line. And now they think it's an insult to work hard. Parents think that children working hard, they recommend that they switch jobs. Why do you have to struggle? Why do you have to do hard work? Why do you have to travel? It's the parents that's the problem, I think.
True, sir. I had one example where one of our friends in a small business hired a candidate from a B school from a rural area, and the child was from a less privileged background. But then when he had to work and do sales calls, the father called up the business owner and said, no, my son is under phenomenal pressure. How can you ask him to sit and make sales calls? So please relieve him immediately. So this gentleman said, see, there has been a lot of investment in training. Let him stay on for another 15 days. Meantime, let me find a replacement. And he said, I'm so scared to send my son for a job. He comes in bike. What if an accident happens? Will you give back my son? So the same day, this gentleman, hands down, he said, okay, chalo, let's, you can get relieved with immediate effect. So that's what you say in terms of parents' upbringing and the entitlement mindset, easy money. So that's, I do not know what is the solution for this, but what you say is true, sir.
Madam, my name is Muthukumar.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
from Oil and Gas Division, and thanks, Mr. Vishwanath. In continuation to what Mr. Vishwanath said, I also worked across the world, and I endorse what he said. Places, people believe hard work is kind of a honor for them, but in India, for example, especially now, whatever you have shown today, madam, we have to be very honest because this only applies to the Gen Y period from 90 people who are born from 1881 to 1996 or something, and they are about 40 years now, 45 years. They will follow whatever you are shown, performance scorecard, this and all kinds of we create factory workers, like you are talking about people in the manufacturing industry. It's the minimum bandwidth of work. Their everyday job is just a small amount of bandwidth. There's no change in anything. Every day they do the same monotonous work, actually, day and out. They come in the morning, do the same job, and they do it for 30 years. Today, the Gen Z, which is born from 1997 to 2010, which is now working at the age of 25 to 30, they don't respect any of this what he showed. Because I know you're from HR, but I'm telling you honestly, they don't see, for example, my personal experience to endorse what they not only work, hard work, what he said. Beyond that, they don't even want to go to middle management or top management. They don't want to come into project management skills. They don't want to learn anything. They said that is more work, more responsibility, more accountability, and I have to take care of so many people and I have to get the deliverables done. I'm not interested. I want to work comfortably, enjoy my life, enjoy my outside office hours. I'm happy. I'm not interested in saving money now for future. And another problem is there's I don't know whether you know definitely better than me, which I learned from the people who try to join when you try to recruit people, is that they call something called conscious unbossing. A conscious unbossing model is there today. That means they don't want to go beyond a level of management. That's all. They want to stop there and they want to keep moving on. And similarly, anytime they are under pressure, they just retire. They temporarily retire. 6 months, they don't want to do any work. They just go around. It may be only for 10, 20% of the people today, maybe. But the trend is growing actually. No management today is able to force them or make them work harder. As you also mentioned, the parents called up and asked him to relieve and all these things is an example what you mentioned. What Mr. Vishnath said about all the things, the people who are little more intelligent, little more outside the box, they don't want to do any hard work. They don't want to do this monotonous day-to-day factory work, with the minimum bandwidth. They just want to do something very interesting and want to make money and go. They get good opportunities to make good money today. I can tell you, I have seen that the people who are a little more smarter, they can make much more money than people who work in the factory type of work. So they see an opportunity, they keep moving around. They don't want to get committed to an organization for not even for 3 years, not even for 5 years. All those days are gone, ma'am. The whole approach for HR, the biggest challenge for me at HR sometimes thinks behind is still a 1980 model and trying to put this performance scorecard and all these things. It does not work today. They don't want to bother about performance appraisals. I have seen people who are saying that when you go for performance appraisal, I don't want to do any performance appraisals. If you don't like me, I'm going away. And if you like me, you give me this whatever, promotions, bonus, whatever it is, or increment or whatever. If I don't get it, I'm walking away. They're not interested to fill up 20 pages of performance appraisal form. So the things have changed. But I have changed personally. I am now learning how to deal with this Gen Y people. I talk to their language now. That's how they work now. I go to their language and talk to them the language. I stop telling them, hey, growth in the company, organization, do this, have a good friend. No, I talk to them very openly. I tell them Tom, in my organization, I have clearly said 1 day notice period. You want to leave? Leave on the same day. I don't want the 30 days. In all my contract, I can show you. I removed all the 30 days notice period, 60 days notice period, 1 day notice period. You want to go in the morning, evening, you are out of the company. both sides, from organization perspective or even employee perspective. And I'm moving myself into Gen Y's model. That's how it is able to survive today with these youngsters coming in. They respect much more that approach rather than putting them all the hard earnings of 1980s and 90s. I think for me, HR departments have to change a lot and train themselves to match the Gen Y. Otherwise, the old things will fail, ma'am. That is my honest opinion.
Got that, sir. So one is in terms of managing Gen Y. It's like kind of how quickly do they see the rewards and the connection with their performance? It's like it has to be really, really dynamic and very seasonal. And yes, from transitioning from older ways of looking at data and looking at newer data and uh, knitting it very closely in terms of rewards and their lifestyle choices makes a lot of difference. Thank you for that sharing, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, I want to share something on what Mr. Kumar has just told. I mean, whatever he has told is right in that direction. Just I wanted to tell two things, madam. If this will be the model for future, the country is doomed. That is for sure. Because I always quote when I talk to our that from HW that government while others sleep, who dare while others cry, they build nation pillars deep and lift them up to the sky. But the problem,
Sir, your voice is, we can't
just
hear your voice correctly. Your voice is breaking.
again, now is it audible?
This is better now. Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to highlight like what Mr. Muthukumar has told. Even it has become like a monotonous job. Whatever he has told is right, because even in public sector, whether you perform or you don't perform, the yearly increment is 3% or whatever. It is constant. So performing employee, he may get a promotion, but that promotion is another 3% increase in his salary. So for that 3%. The new generation doesn't want to put extra effort. Whatever he has said is right. But saying so, but there are two more things. That is, the nation will suffer. These generation, another 20 years will be the deciding authorities in the nation, and the nation can collapse. This can always happen. So migrant workers today we have from different states. Tomorrow you may have from different countries that has to come. What is happening in US or some developed nation, similar things can happen in India. So finally we will be, you will be having money, but you don't have anything to do your job. That is the model we are approaching. And rightly what you have told, that the parents feel that their children have to be comfortable, and they extend that thing what is in their home to their workplace also. I also get calls from the parents asking to they don't want their children to work in the shift, but we make them aware that this is the job. If you're working in operations, this is the job. You have to work in the shift. We all worked for 15 to 17 years in the shift. We have undergone that stress, everything. But the new generation doesn't want. They want a different. They are totally a different mindset altogether. So this is one part. Parents, that is our generation, has to understand that this is how I have grown. My children also should grow in that route. But the parents want their children to have all the best facilities. They want their children to be happy. And their children also, they see somebody working in McKinsey, they feel that that is a better job, because McKinsey, people, I mean, the consultants like McKinsey or something, they will give some astronomical things which is impossible for any company to achieve. So when such things happen and the hardworking guy doesn't get recognition, this is all about the society recognition. If society recognizes hardworking people, then this can always be in a good good for the country or good for the people. Society recognizes how you are living, what is your lifestyle. This is what it has happened. This is what I understand.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. And I would like to actually sum up 2 points for consideration of this forum. One is in terms of how dynamic are we in terms of aligning rewards and recognition to, because what catches the attention of the younger generation, especially the millennials and the zillennials, is, am I recognized? Is there somebody to pat my back and say, you have, kudos, you've done a wonderful job? So how it's like carrot and stick. If you choose a carrot way, like how frequently do you reward the right behaviors? So identifying the right behaviors and rewarding the right behaviors, in my experience of working with this generation, has always paid off. Second is what we, the model we are experimenting with one of the organizations is like in terms of vertical progression of roles, why don't we give them a bit of variety? Because the span of attention is very limited and they get bored with mundane responsibilities, something which is very routine in nature. So it's like earlier, if we were working for 3 years or 5 years in a particular role, today this generation within a span of say 9 to 12 months they get bored. So can we also look at horizontal shifting between functions? So a lot of innovation has to come into work practices to really capitalize on. And one slight, I mean, I would take a slightly different approach from what there are definitely, as you said, there are cases where people don't work hard in this generation, and the element of longevity generically has gone down. But I wouldn't say as a norm, none of the children in today's generation work hard. We all know with the big four what happened recently to a young chartered accountant. The girl was slogging so hard. She was so passionate about her work and she was so much dedicated and loyal. So we still have such resources in the younger generation. And it is up to the person or the business owner to also spot such resources. How do we attract such resources and make sure that we nurture these resources while we are also uh, policing on people who don't perform, or we let go of such people? When Mr. Muthukumar said about the 1 day notice, I completely agree. When your heart and soul is not here, it's no point having that resource inside. But somebody who's really dedicated, if we are still looking at the yardstick of, okay, let me do an appraisal once in a year, we are definitely not going to be retaining that talent. Are we agile in our systems and say that, okay, 3 months you have done a project really well, let me give you an opportunity to for travel? Yeah. And in terms of, yes, there is a cultural shift as a nation that we have to face. But in terms of employment from a business perspective, agility is one thing that if business owners, we are able to embrace agility in terms of designing our processes and systems, understanding behaviors of the younger generation, we still, it's not still out of control. We still can play around and mold them in a way that we really want them to contribute.
Ma'am, good afternoon. David here.
Yeah, please, sir.
I'm working for an MNC, and before this, I was working with a medium-time company which had around 60 plus employees. Okay, so that the work ambience was really good, and after a very long time, I just moved over here. So I'm in this new company for almost like 15 plus months now. So I'm just here to take some tips, tricks, or hacks from you where I can deal with my organization there. Because see, what I see is when an organization grows beyond 3,500 plus people working with them, so this is a really big organization. So the management and the HR team just see people as numbers. Okay, so they don't recognize talents. And today, yes, I really accepted what the people before me spoke. The first quarter has not gone for this calendar year, but for my team alone, that's my project alone, we have had like candidates, not candidates, staff bringing in parents to office to speak for them with the HR. And I was speaking with the HR, asking them, why are you nowadays conducting parent-teacher meeting in office? So twice it has happened. We have not even clocked 60 days this year, correct? So within 60 years, twice this has happened. Okay, so on the other side, I also find that the managers find good talents as threat to them. Okay, so I have two people who are currently working under me. So this is a real-time scenario I'm just speaking of. One person, I'm okay. Both of them have quit. Okay, so one person I'm okay if he leaves the company immediately, because he just comes in, he just whiles away the time, he discharges the whole floor. But as per the HR policy, they just want him to stay back for the whole 90 days period. And while delivering, this head count also comes into picture. You are having 10 resources below you, so it is your duty to give in all the tasks as per the schedule. So this is definitely not going to happen. So I just need some tips, tricks, or hacks to deal with such things.
So it's like when we talk about HR, it's also important understanding this HR business partner role. How clued is your HR in terms of understanding the business requirements? If I were your HR, it's like in terms of, okay, I want to let go. Can HR bring in that flexibility and say, yes, the manager is also feeling that this employee is not value adding. Let me also look at data. And if the data also supports that this employee is not adding value, can we let go? So rather than sticking on to policies, where do we also look at managing by exceptions? So can I take an exceptional call and say, okay, if there is a toxic, there is an element of toxicity that this particular resource is bringing to the team, it is better to let go rather than again sticking on to the policy and saying no, you will have to serve the notice period. So I think this is as an operations head, or I do not know the role that you are in, how powerful are you in terms of influencing or placing that demand to your HR or management and saying that these are some of these things which are impacting my team's performance, and a quick call to action to support in terms of letting go of that employee is one. Number two is in terms of parents teachers meeting, you said. Today, how many of us invest in mental well-being of our employees? When I say mental well-being, it is also in terms of there is a lot of substance abuse, addictive habits which are happening. So if there is somebody, a go-to person, where if HR can recommend that this is happening, and you can recommend, you cannot again subscribe, recommend an internal resource or an impaneled resource, then I think a healthy conversation where anonymity is maintained, then this habit of bringing parents will slowly settle down. And in our induction program, when we are hiring new people into the system, how do we say that now this is, as an adult, these are the expectations that comes out of you? And I'm just an example. We were discussing on Posh, and somebody said if a women employee comes and complains on Posh, the members will have to go and call the employee's family members and involve. So it's like an awareness is needs to be spread around, telling the employee that you are a grown-up adult. And I'm sure these kids would not have taken their parents when they were in colleges. So it's like when somebody is trying to act smart, we also need to put our foot down and say, no, I am not going to be encouraging this. It might cost us taking tough calls. It could be a critical resource, it could be a billable resource, and business can be affected. But if you have to set the right kind of expectations and right kind of behaviors in place, then taking some tough decisions will definitely help.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. David. It was a fantastic question, sir. And madam, thank you for your response because I also agree. But if I'm allowed to share something, just to enhance the discussion,
Yes, sir.
is it okay if I share my experience on that, Mr. David
Sure.
and madam?
Sure,
Yes, sir.
sir,
Please,
please.
please.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good question and a good discussion. So one thing, the biggest challenge, right? You're talking about the mental well-being and the issues, right? Mr. David, this is a similar problem we also face, and I know that my friends' companies and other organizations face a lot. Especially we are in the technology discipline, highly advanced technology discipline. So one of the things what we did and understood is that some employees also take advantage. For example, as you correctly pointed out, right, somebody very valuable, and he cannot leave the company immediately, and then it will affect. Similarly, some of the things what we have learned with the younger generation, about less than 35 years of old, is that they don't have a loyalty with the organization. That is a very clear point. There is absolutely no loyalty with them. And when they see that, they can put the company in trouble, and if they are not happy, and they're happy to apply that power of, that fear, saying that, hey, if you do not do this, I will leave immediately tomorrow. I'm happy to give even 90 days the compensation, whatever the buyout of the holidays, and walk away. And even if you're able to don't give me any money for 3 months, I'm happy, I will go away. So they kind of threaten the organizations back because so they have an advantage over it. The challenge to avoid it, what we did was every person will have instead of having a long-term succession planning, we had an immediate succession planning. For example, if a person A is a higher level, is trained and skilled for the level of A, we also train the level guy B to become A in a short notice. So instead of training only one guy for a particular skill, we train 3 guys for the same skill. So if A goes, we have B and C to follow up. That happened. That actually created a different atmosphere to them. That hey, they are not, they are immediately removed. They are not kind of indispensable or something. They can be dispensed within no time. So they created a fear for the employees, and they understood that if A goes, B and C is there to take over. I know it is much more investment of time, cost, and efforts, but it helped a lot, Mr. David. That one thing we did. And second thing on the mental well-being, I am a writer. And madam, I'm writing a very big book called The Hard Problem of Philosophy, What Really Matters for You and Me. I'm writing this book. And for that, I've been doing a lot of research for the last 3-4 years. And I worked with a lot of psychologists. I sat with them in their counseling session. I took permission, both from the patients as well as them, and even went to colleges where they're given counseling to students. I took the permission from the college. I sat with them, a silent observer. I won't say anything, just wanted to observe what is going on. One of the things I found out is that almost all the psychological counseling curriculum, what is available, is all made in 1998 and 2002. 2008 was the last update of psychological counseling for all the universities. So whoever comes as psychological experts and psychology doctors, whatever they call it, they're coming with the 2008 curriculum. They have no understanding of what is happening in 2024, and every counseling I have seen that it is not going to work with the new generation. And the mental well-being, the approach is made by the schools and teachers and psychology counselors, where almost every college got counselors, does not work anymore because they are talking from 2008 curriculum. I do not know why. So I wrote a paper explaining that the psychology counseling cannot, every 5 years they have to revise the curriculum for everybody. If we do not do that, and unfortunately nobody in India bothered about it, but in fact I got a call from the US saying that, hey, your paper is noticed and we want to have a discussion with that. And so unless they do it, it's absolutely, the very important thing is to understand their mental well-being and counseling them. It requires a different approach, ma'am. It's a very important that unfortunately all our psychological counselors, they have no modern understanding of what is really happening. Maybe as you are an HR person, probably you can take it further, and offline we can always discuss about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. NSM.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of points only. Yes, thanks to enlightened speech by Vanisree ma'am. Ma'am, you said about leading indicators and lagging indicators. That's one of the brilliant one if you ask me about. Is there any way to find out the leading indicators are being deployed in a company where the employee engagement is at its best? What I find is that if you don't engage your people, whether it's in the home or in the office, because many people are thinking that office environment is something different and home environment is different. So we put a lot of efforts in the home to see that we are totally engaged, whether it's parents or spouse or children or even grandchildren for that matter. We don't do this in the office for whatever reason, because of politics and caste or whatever nonsense about. But is there any way by which we can measure this employee engagement? Because if you don't engage the people properly, then everything can go wrong. I am looking at one simple example, this Dava Waras in Mumbai. They hand over almost millions of this lunch box or tiffin box across Mumbai, and not even a single time they fail. What is that which is gelling them? They don't care about the money, they don't care about, but they are feeling it is a very societal, engagement they are doing it about. Can you not replicate such kind of a concept in our company to think, or what is that the leaders should learn to make it happen? This is what my question is about.
Sir, I look at your question in two parts. One is how do you measure engagement? And then what could be some of the practices to improve engagement? So first part is how do you measure engagement? One is a lot of scores are there. Simplest ways of measuring engagement. It could be as simple as attendance. Like what is the commitment if absenteeism is very high and uninformed, that also displays a sense of ownership. And a lot of tools are available. If we are looking at a composite engagement score, like you have the Gallup study. The Gallup survey questionnaire has
one small interruption. See, attendance is nowadays everybody is there. Any company, you just got to punch a card before you enter or go out, kind of. I'm looking at that. See, they all come, but they don't speak to the boss, or the boss does not talk to them, or the boss talks to only few. How do I know that the boss is really talking to all the people? And equally important is that most of the meetings I'm seeing it in, of course, having worked in all the companies like PSU or public or private, etc. Most of the meetings are just to show the world that I'm the boss, you guys have to follow. This is stupidity on earth to think about. In fact, most of the meetings we all attend mainly for taking some samosa or coffee or tea. Other than that, nothing comes from them. But if you want to be really successful in life, you have to really interact with the people more, peer-to-peer discussion, or peer to boss or whatever, or maybe cross-functional department to see it about. How do you measure that is happening in a company?
So one example is like, as you said, meetings. How do we know that our meetings are productive? So do we have a standard set format for our meetings? And do we start the subsequent meeting with following up on the actions agreed upon in the previous meeting? Is there a fair chance for people for everyone in the meeting to voice their opinion? So the following up of action is one simple tool which can enhance the effectiveness of meeting. I worked in both kinds of organizations, an organization where the meetings were unstructured, and another organizations where the meeting is highly structured. So if it is 60 minutes, end of 59th minute, we close the meeting and we are out, but then we come in 5 minutes early to review on the previous meetings. People sit in the conference hall, go through the notes from the previous meeting, so that we start bang on dot and we get into the MOM or recall report of the previous meeting. So structured meetings, again, it only boils down to what are the processes that we set. In terms of people engagement, if you're asking in terms of the time spent on productive items, today there are a lot of tools available, right from how many tasks have you performed in a day. And if it is a field person, you have a permanent journey plan, as I said during the example. So it is with technology, there are n number of tools which are available to monitor the daily engagement levels. At the same time, if you are looking at a composite score, again, tools are available for that. And all said and done, what is the frequency of having these performance conversations between the boss and his reporting? So if people are only going to be looking at data and not on the human side of the person. So how do we strike this balance if X is your task axis and Y is your people axis? What is the balance between task and people centricity that we are going to be striking? And I think that is the essence of the human resource function, which is again the heart of management for any organization. So staying connected with people, understanding what is the human side of the person's needs, and if we are able to connect with that, I think that would give us pretty much positive results.
Because why I'm asking is that during one of our work in the past, we want to, what we're going to do a 6 Sigma study on the employee satisfaction. And you won't believe the persons were interested in doing it, but the bosses from HR department, they came and shouted us like anything. They didn't want us to do it also. See, they say that 6 Sigma you consider only on technical aspects of increasing the throughput or improving the product quality or all kind of things or energy reduction, never on the employee aspects. Is it that as a culturally the Indians, we are more scared of what economy and talking to the adult to adult discussion, which is making much more meaningful, so that we can try to improve on our performance as a whole.
Sir, I would strongly recommend it all depends on the choice of tool that you pick and choose has to align with the culture of the organization. And if you are looking at a multinational organization having its business across countries, it is like there is an element of localization while the process has to be global. The alignment or tweaking has to also consider the local cultural aspects. Without that, if we choose a tool, we are bound to fail. I again give the example. There are organizations which have successfully adopted a tool, and I basically have a lot of reverence to the organization that I worked for, because from South India manufacturing, and there was this global group companies, and the employee engagement score of South India manufacturing was high, and because of that I was moved on to a larger group level role as a business partner for global operations. So there are organizations which are successfully adopting these tools and they are getting results, but homework has to be done in terms of choice of tool, maybe a pilot study in terms of whether this works, whether we can, what is the kind of customization we do to the tool. So I would never recommend a one size fits all
You're
tool
right.
of the organization.
Just to give one more feedback, I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure whether it happens similar in other companies. In an MNC, when I worked, and then when employees were asked to do a one skip meeting, that means their bosses will not be there. I mean, immediate boss will not be there. Boss, you can say he will be present, or he or she will be present. But in that meeting, also outcome is that the feedback what I used to gather from the people is that never tell anything bad about your boss, because the HR person will go and tell tomorrow, and then the boss will make further life miserable for you. I mean, this kind of a phenomena, or this kind of a fear in the mind, how to unshackle, and then I have to see. At end of the day, all of us want my company should be at its best, doing the best, and I am also being proud of the company about. Is that as a culturally we have got some problems as Indians? I'm looking at from the Indian perspective rather than outside. There may be happening good. I'm not saying it like Toyota or the people are doing wonderful. But
Sir, my answer to this, I'm sorry, I'm interfering, but whether it is Indian or a global perspective, choose the right HR. The attitude, the competence of the HR confidentiality. If your HR lacks confidentiality, the person does not fit to be in HR. It's that simple.
Maybe we do not have good HR people like you then.
So I mean, I wouldn't say you don't have HR people. I'm a very strong proponent of HR being the heart of the organization, and we still have a lot of good leaders in HR picking up the person. If the business leader has his own perspective of what is good and what is the value, and that is going to be affecting the choice of HR, how do we blame HR for this?
No, the reason why I'm asking is that we all know that if employee satisfaction is X%, then the customer satisfaction will be X minus some Y. I mean, that is Absolutely. How the life is working on. But then why are we scared of even reporting employee satisfaction on a periodic basis to see that where we stand? is there anything by which we need to improve upon? Is there any company doing it? I just want to understand about it.
Sir, sorry, I didn't get the second part of your question.
No, what I'm saying, if employee satisfaction is one of the critical parameter to understand, why companies are scared of reporting employee satisfaction in their annual reports or whatever to come about, or maybe periodically you start measuring in whatever informal manner. See, like go to canteen. If the canteen people are eating with all laughter, I think there's a good environment available. But the canteen the people are eating, everybody is looking at the plate and they don't even talk to each other. I don't know whether it's a good culture or bad culture, is very difficult to say. I'm looking at some kind of an influential way of finding out what is happening good and bad in the company about.
Sir, as I said in the beginning of the presentation, how do we do a climate survey? And again, there are different ways of doing it. Formally, how do we do it? How do we do it informally? And how are we so much clued into what's happening across geographies and across different functions? What is the pulse of employees is very important. I think we need to have that kind of a bit of an open culture where we nurture these things of, yes, we come and voice out. We encourage people to say their problems, share their grievances, not being judged. Again, if people are going, you say, I have a very open culture, and the moment somebody comes in, voices a grievance, we again say, okay, you have badmouthed your boss. Then the change has to happen from the top, and building in strong processes that would nurture all of these things, and that alignment from top to the bottommost individual contributor matters a lot, and it doesn't happen overnight.
That's true. Yeah, it's a long process. Okay,
It's
thank
a
you.
very long process, sir.
Thank you. Kind of you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, one last question, ma'am. Anybody else
Yes.
has a question? Please unmute and ask before we let Ms. Vanisree go. One last question, please.
Just I want to share one thing to you.
Yes, sir.
See, nowadays there is no human touch in the industries. I have 40 years of experience. I worked as a general manager in the companies. I know each and everybody. I know each and everybody's, even 100, 150 people are there. And everybody's family, everything I used to have information, and I will chat with them at least once in a month. Such relations is not available at all nowadays. The boss is boss. He never worried about what you are and what condition you are coming to the company or what condition you are coming to the work. And nobody is discussing about the particular person. So there should be a separate meeting where person to person, without any difference of opinion, we have to talk. Somebody's if they're talking about others, okay. Finally, we have to conclude this guy is good. Not. That sort of thing is not available nowadays. This is a very bad thing because human value is not recognized. That is my thing.
Sir, I'll go back to what Vishwanathan sir said. It's yes, it starts from families. Today we are living in a society where if there is a death happening in the next door, we see the neighbor's door is closed. As a society, when we choose to remain closed eyes to the happiness or the sufferings of people around us, I think that is what even organizations, the same sentiments echo in organizations also, and that is a larger problem that we need to work on as a society. So, but we can have our own policies and say, okay, induction. Like for example, in one of my clients, I say there should be a 30, 60, 90-day interaction for at least newcomers. So wherever possible, we try to bring a process to say that, yes, there is a face-to-face interaction. Can you have a buddy program? Yeah, can I have some senior employee tag? And that senior choice of senior employee is somebody who is a loyalist for the organization, who is an ambassador of the organization, who is a strong advocate of the organization, and not somebody who badmouths about the organization. Do we have a buddy program? These are small efforts that we try to combat these larger problems.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. What a fantastic session we had today. A lot of takeaways and good to have you in our midst today. Have a great weekend, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
for
you
being
so much, sir. And thank you everyone for this wonderful session. And it was absolute pleasure and honor being here. And thank you.